can you give us kind of your background and what you've been up to over the last few years?
Yeah. Do you want me to go start at like school or?
Yeah, start at what you
Yeah.
did at UNH. You were a student athlete, I think, letting
Yeah.
people know. It's cool.
Cool. Yeah. So, hi friends. I came into UNH as a member of the gymnastics team, and then I ended up actually getting injured my freshman year. And I was always kind of like into the camera stuff. I like to take photos with my friends, do like photo shoots and take GoPro videos, all that kind of like action sports stuff you do when you're a kid and you make like ski edits and what have you. So I was always interested in cameras and whatever, but I had never really done anything other than sports my whole life. So I ended up getting injured freshman year, and I started making like very just like surface level like edits of the meets because I wasn't doing anything. So like filming the team and like fun, like kind of not like vlogs, but like they had like a little bit of like fun energy, and then like gymnastics montage, all that sort of stuff. While I was doing that, this was like before there was really much of like I don't know if there was ever really like a student photo or video intern before this time for athletics. At least it was kind of like uncharted territory, but like Mike Murphy, I don't know if he still works there, but yeah, he like basically they saw what I was making and offered me like a essentially like an internship where I could like keep doing that stuff for the gymnastics team, but also like learn a little bit about like the broadcast camera stuff that they do, like the live streams and all the other aspects. And I kind of just like, so I was like doing that stuff. So literally shooting like live stream, like the live camera on like the field hockey games and like the football games, like standing out in the rain. It was awful. I hated it. Um, and then also doing my like kind of like fun, like artsy stuff as well. And it kind of just like grew from there. I was basically completely like self-taught on like the videography side up until I started working for CPA and Scott, and then they kind of like took me under their wing and taught me how to like actually do things. Um, but yeah, so that was like my freshman year. I was just kind of like getting my feet wet and kind of like doing it all myself. It wasn't really, yeah, there was no one like kind of coming to me and being like, do you want to do this? It was kind of just like making it up as I went. And then I just kind of like got better through trial and error. And eventually I also got offered an internship with CPA, so like the public affairs office, to do more of like the school social media stuff, going to like events and making like just like little clips, like coverage stuff. This was like before Instagram Reels was a thing. So it was like just, yeah, just like kind of random little like montagey student life stuff. So that was kind of like my whole time at school. I was basically just like doing some sports stuff, doing some other stuff. And then I ended up not going back to gymnastics, but joining the swim and dive team as a diver. So stayed as a student athlete, but in a different sport. So not being part of the gymnastics team, I got to kind of like throw myself into shooting with them and kind of like focus fully on that. And so that kind of became like my baby while I was at school, was doing like as solid as I could of coverage of that team. And so yeah, while I was at school, in my senior year, I started kind of like reaching out to people that I just like liked their work, who were like a few years out of school, who I admired, and just was like, hey, like how do you, because there was no like roadmap of like, okay, you do this, then you go to grad school, like, and then you go apply for like a low level job and you work your way up the ladder. Like it's really not like that. It's kind of, you're just kind of making it up as you go. So just like reached out to a bunch of people, like asking for advice and trying to network and trying to track down internships. And I ended up getting an internship at a production company out in LA called Step Studios, and they do a lot of action sports stuff, a lot of ski, a lot of stuff in the outdoors, which I also love doing. So I moved out here right after, like during COVID essentially, which was interesting. And I worked there for 6 months doing kind of all manner of things. I was shooting like behind the scenes content for them. These are like big commercial productions, like Super Bowl ads and stuff like that. And so I was like shooting BTS, assistant editing, like pulling selects, driving hard drives to FedEx, all that sort of random like mailroom stuff. And then from there, like all the while I was kind of like shooting stuff on my own, like building my portfolio, getting better. And then at the end of my contract with them in 2020, like, so just start of 2021, I went full-time freelance. And ever since then, it's just been like working my way up, like making, like doing like jobs that were less money and less cool just to get by, and then like slowly elevating. And now I am still full-time freelance, and I make a mix of stuff, but mostly documentary films about athletes, female athletes in particular, in any manner of sports in the outdoors. And then I also do a little bit of commercial work here and there, like your Nike activewear stuff. Like I don't do like random like I don't know, I don't do food commercials or like car commercials, but stuff that kind of like fits in that same zone of like girl power, sports, outdoors, surfing, skiing, all that sort of stuff. And it's really freaking fun, but it's also really hard. And freelancing is definitely a trip. But yeah, that's kind of my spiel. And I still live in LA, and I live with my partner Chris, who was a hockey player at UNH, and he's also a creative, and he happens, there's a designer, he's a graphic designer now. So yeah.
We have a question already.
Okay, I'm here for it.
Yeah, so freelancing was something I was always kind of interested. It seems really scary. Was it hard to get into?
Yeah, so for me, I felt like it wasn't hard early on, weirdly, but it's hard now. Early on, it was like I was willing to do anything. I was willing to assistant edit for $200 a day. I was willing to carry a backpack for no money if it was a cool enough project. And like, also I was doing a lot of early in my career, a lot of just like quicker, like social media stuff. That's like, I got in with this female production company, female owned production company it was all sports stuff. And they did a lot of like quick hit social stuff that was pretty consistent. So I kind of got lucky with like a consistent client right out the gate. But that being said, like now that my work has elevated a little bit and I'm getting like jobs that are higher paying, but they're less often, it has felt like I'm in a little bit of like a growing phase. So I'll say like it's definitely not as like hard. I think a lot of people try to scare you out of doing it. And like you definitely have to be very self-motivated. You have to be like reaching out to people, networking a ton. And just like posting your work, making sure your website's always up to date, like making sure everything looks pretty. And yeah, it's a lot of work, but I would say it's not as scary as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like I thought I wasn't going to have a client for like a year. And that wasn't the case, but yeah, I would say it's the biggest like roller coaster. Like it's feast or famine. Like I'll have months where I make more money than I made in the past 3 months put together. And then I'll have months where I make nothing. So yeah, and like you'll have years where you have some client that's hiring you a ton, but then like last year there was all the strikes in the film industry, so there was basically like no work. And then like right now the economy sucks, so marketing budgets are slashed, everyone's getting laid off, so things are pretty slow right now. So it's all about saving your money so that you have it for a rainy day. Like that's the other thing is I did leave college because I worked a lot in college. I left with a lot of savings, so I felt like I could go freelance right away without being that worried about eating. And so yeah, I had like a few months like to get myself through if I had no clients, and that's kind of like how you have to do it. You have to always have 3 months in the bank to pay your expenses just in case. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't trade it for every time I think I'm like, oh, I don't want to freelance anymore. This is too hard. Like, I'm like, I don't know. I don't feel like I have purpose. Like there's all sorts of mental stuff that goes on with being a freelancer. I always picture having to wake up and go on Slack in the morning, which is, I don't know if you guys know what Slack is, but it's like corporate where you talk to your boss, and I'm like, I'm good. Like, so yeah.
Did anybody else have a question? I want to show some of your work too. What do you want to show first? Do you want to show maybe
When we
your
start with the UNH
gymnast?
stuff, because it's
Yeah.
so old.
Okay.
So this
So-
is stuff I made as a student, so grain of
Yeah.
salt.
And I think we wanted to show the gymnastics piece. What was your, do you want to talk us through what these were?
Yeah. Yeah, so these are kind of the typical videos I would make for the gymnastics team. And I did them for a few other sports as well every once in a while. But yeah, they're basically just like fun meet recaps. And yeah, this was senior year, right before COVID.
There we go.
This is our house, okay? We're gonna bring the excitement, bring the energy, bring the details. We've got this all the way through. We can do this. Believe in yourself, believe in each other, okay? All the way through. Oh, come on, Lexi, all you! Come on, good! Trust yourself, Lex! Let's go! Come on, Liz! You got this, Em! Come on, Ronnie, you know Come on, Emma! Come on, Clem! Come on, Robbie!
So can you talk? Oops, that's still playing, sorry. Stand by.
That was so long ago.
Yeah, how's it feel to watch some of those older projects?
Well, I purposely chose that one because I was like, I don't want to be cringing the entire time. Oh, I just miss school, guys. Like, enjoy it while it lasts. But yeah, I mean, my like style and everything has definitely changed over time, but there's stuff that stays. And yeah, that was like so much fun. Just like that's one thing that college is great for, I feel like, is it lets you kind of have like a no consequences place to just like figure it out and play around with like your artistic style, or whether it's like your writing style, whatever. Like you don't have a client like breathing down your neck, and you don't have people. I mean, like, yes, I was being paid, but it was like minimum wage and very like low stakes. So it was like, yeah, I just got to like play around and like screw up, and it was a good time.
Could you talk about some of the early aspects of shooting? Cause you came to, when you started, we were like, wow, she really has a talent. And that was before you had any formal training, just capturing not only the action of sports, but also you always do a great job of capturing the reaction, like all the high fives and all the team aspects, and also the just the clear audio. I like, there's not a lot of there's no interviews in that piece, but just the coach throughout, just the importance of capturing clean audio and moments.
Yeah. I mean, I would say like that was obviously my senior year, so that was like as good as I got in school. Like early days, I was not like miking people up. I was definitely like, I knew the sport so well, so I knew what was going to happen, and I knew kind of like what I liked to watch when I saw stuff. So, I think there's definitely like part of shooting that like is innate, and I think that's what makes it really cool is that no one has a style that's going to be the same as the next person. And learning how to like celebrate that and not fall victim to like Instagram trends in photography and video as well, as I think has helped me, because sometimes you see stuff and there's like there's like certain trends in content that are really cool, but everything starts to look the same. And so I think leaning into my style definitely helped me develop it more and like figure it out more quickly, and not feeling, I mean, I definitely like watched stuff on Instagram, like tried like trendy stuff, but it never really stuck. But I just kind of kept adding techniques and things as I learned them. Like, I think I learned how to use, like, once you guys taught me how to use a mic, then I was like, oh, can I borrow it for like this meet? And then I started like miking the girls, whoever like wasn't going. I would just kind of like pass the mic around, and they loved it. They thought it was really fun. Like they would do like really funny stuff with the mic, and we'd do like little like mic'd up stuff as well. And I feel like it added a lot for sure, because before it was like just music. And then I like kind of started adding like crowd cheering sounds, like, and then that like kind of just went from there. And I kind of like landed at those like more fun, like mic'd style that I feel like it worked.
Yeah, I think it's good. Yeah, it adds another element to a just highlight reel when you have the bit of levels in there. Do we want to show something more recent? Which one did you want to show next? How about do you want to stick with gymnastics and show the UCLA one that you just did? Or do you want to show Parks? Why don't we watch one of the maybe the Park City one?
Yeah, let's do like a more like doc style one, and then we can go back to gymnastics and then end on the Beyond Normals.
So maybe talk a little bit too about brands that you've worked with and what they ask you to do. We've watched a bunch of Yeti videos in class. How do you get approached? Maybe give a little bit of a backstory on this video we're gonna watch, the Park City.
So last year, so basically brands nowadays, they're not always doing like the TV commercial anymore for marketing. Obviously there's like so many other places to put content and ways to do it, like it's endless. And at least in the past couple of years, and I think going forward for a while, like the branded documentary is like now a thing. So we've seen, like, you guys have seen the Yeti stuff, the North Face does it, Patagonia Films, REI just like released their first like feature film that they're trying to become like basically like a film company as well. So this is a way, like before with documentaries, I think like you just kind of like made one on your own dime and like tried to sell it to like a network. Now this is a way for like documentary filmmakers to actually like kind of make a living, which has been really cool. And it's a way for these brands to build like brand loyalty around like a certain ideal. So this one was for Park City, or like Vail Resorts Park City, which I don't know if we have any skiers in the room, but Vail Resorts is like the known like evil ski corporation. And so they were trying to kind of like work on their inclusivity and their just like their brand storytelling in general around their different ski resorts. So this one was for Park City. So like Vail Resorts was essentially acting as like an advertising agency. So they contracted a production company, which a production company is basically a company that will do, I'll try to explain this better. Okay, so you have an ad agency. These are the people who make ads, like any TV commercials, billboards, they do design, they have all sorts of stuff. When they want to make a commercial or a branded documentary, and they have enough budget, oftentimes they'll reach out to a production company, and this is like the how people. So they're gonna find all the creatives that are gonna work on it. They're gonna do all the boring stuff like insurance, and they basically are the logistics guys. And then that production company then hires somebody like me to direct and shoot this branded doc. So this was a paid job. I went out to Park City for like 3 days to shoot 3 episodes of this. This is just one of the episodes you're going to be seeing. And yeah, the whole point of the series was just to like spotlight interesting people at these ski areas that like aren't your typical like rich white guy that skis. So this is about a former professional free skier, and she just had a kid, and it's about her, just kind of her journey in general. It's a little bit sad. There's your warning.
I don't remember a day of my life when I didn't know how to ski. It's just always been something that I've done and always been something that I've loved. I'm Jen Hudak. I'm a former professional skier, an entrepreneur, and a mom.
Let me see this one. Oh, so close. Push. Good job.
I learned how to ski in Vermont. My dad, he would pull me and my sister up our driveway and then send us back down. So our first turns on skis were in our driveway in Vermont. By the time I was a senior in high school, I started landing on some pretty big international podiums for half-pipe skiing, and it was pretty clear kind of what direction I wanted to take things, and that's when I moved to Utah. In 2010, I won every single competition that year except for one. It was incredible. Sorry. I think I always start thinking about my dad when I start talking about skiing. Because he's who taught me how to ski. So my dad had leukemia. He was diagnosed in 2010, just after one of the best seasons that I had ever had on skis. His diagnosis gave me a new focus. In 2014, for Christmas, we got my dad a half-day sit-ski lesson through the National Ability Center at the base of Park City. He learned quickly, and he loved it. I don't think that any of us realized that it would be our last time skiing together. Having a kid and skiing with him, it does make me feel more connected to my dad, and it reminds me of those days when we would just ski together. I have these glimpses into my future of skiing with Hudson and what that's going to be like.
This is my favorite.
That's your favorite? Yeah.
Park City is special to me because multiple generations of my family have not only skied here, but made memories here that will last us a lifetime.
Any questions for Anna on that piece? Yeah, CJ.
I kind of got one question. I noticed that, all of your shots are very, very cinematic. And,
Yeah.
I feel like they're very different from a lot of other stuff we've watched in this class. And I'm wondering how I'm not sure how to like phrase this question, but how do you sort of, make your B-roll and your footage look that way? And is that a conscious decision you're making to make it cinematic like that?
Yeah, I mean the word like cinematic in general, is like that's like a tough word because like there's so many different, I do try to make everything I make like really pretty. And especially with documentary is that's about finding the right angles and lighting oftentimes within a scenario that you're kind of locked into. This isn't like a set where you can like bring in a bunch of lights to someone's house. Like we did bring in some lighting to Jen's house for like the interview, but other than that, like that's just like me with the camera. So I mean all the gear is like a whole other thing, but I will say like I'm shooting on a pretty expensive camera and I'm pretty specific about like what lenses I use and kind of like how the selection of the lenses aids the story. So like, and also like it's all about picking like what will actually make the shoot like function. So for a ski shoot, like I was on zooms because like it's a ski shoot, you're just like kind of running around the mountain like trying to find good moments. So being able to zoom in and out was important. But for some other projects I have like I try to go for like a more like artsy, like weird, like sunny look. And sorry, this fly. So there's like all kinds of decisions you can make with gear that will help with that vision. But I think a lot of it is like just like I do a lot of photography, and I think that helps kind of develop like a more cinematic style, just like studying composition, like learning the rule of thirds and all the kind of like basic photography stuff translates into video really well. But yeah, it's kind of hard to say like how do you make your footage, like learning how to use your camera, whether it's a really expensive one or it's just your phone. Like the phone cameras are so nice now. Like I've seen like crazy pretty stuff that's just shot on phones. So just like study those like basic kind of photography like rules. Like I'm not really a big like rule follower, but like some of them are rules for a reason, like because they work. Just like based on like the science of how our eyes and our brains work. So yeah. And also like not all my stuff looks like that. Like just like that's like the best like 3 minutes, but like there's so much that's just like does not look that good.
Melissa has a question here.
Yeah, so I was curious, going on from that, A, what camera you use, and B, when shooting in places with really bad lighting, what kind, like,
Good
what do you
question.
focus on the most to help like make the lighting better if you don't have all of those lighting gears with you?
Totally. Yeah. So first of all, so I shoot on a red and I have like a variety of lenses. I also have like a second camera that's a Canon R5. Those are like very, I don't know. I mean, those are like very professional grade gear that you don't need when you're first starting out. I started out at school, I was shooting on like a Sony mirrorless for a couple of years. And then I also like a lot of the times when you get on like these bigger projects, you have like a budget set aside for rentals of cameras. So like a lot of people, like even like people at my stage, like don't even own any camera gear. They just like include that as a like a line item in their budget. So that's kind of how that works. But then there's plenty of videographers that like own all their gear. And I'm kind of like an in-between where I own just enough to shoot the stuff that I want to shoot on my own and also like sometimes rent it to my clients when it's like when it's a smaller footprint. And then I also like if it's a bigger job, we'll go to like there's all sorts of like camera rental houses that have like the cameras that like movies are shot on. And then bad lighting. I still honestly like I'm always getting better at lighting. It's like you're never gonna like fully get it. But if you're in like a really bad, I mean, it depends on like what kind of bad scenario you're in. Like if you're in a really ugly like apartment that has like no, like, I mean, it's gonna have a window. Like it's always gonna have a window, I feel like. So like put your person in front or like 3/4 to a window, like kind of how I am right now. And like that'll help. Or I guess I should turn this way because the light should be, that's one thing. Always light from the side. If you're like shooting a sideways interview like this, you want to light from this side, not the close side, because like that looks weird and it's gonna look unflattering. But yeah, windows are your friends. If it's like so bad, like maybe try going outside and like going under like a tree. Like that can sometimes like have some like nice like diffused sunlight. And also like at some points like you're just not gonna have a pretty lighting, and like that, try to like figure out like does it serve the story? Like obviously like if say you're shooting something outside with like a runner, they shouldn't be perfectly lit because they're outside in the sun running, like, you know, like, so it's not always the end of the world. It's just like whatever makes sense for the story. And I would also say like, I don't know, they have those like ring lights now that you use for like TikToks that are so cheap on Amazon. Like if you know you're going to be shooting something and if the light's going to be kind of crap, like just buy the cheapest light you can or try to borrow one from someone like another local videographer, and people are always down to help out. So yeah, and get pictures of where you're going to be shooting. Like ask your subject, like, hey, can you send me a photo of the room so that you can kind of think about it ahead of time? Because there's nothing worse than like you show up and you're like, oh my God, this is so ugly, but like we don't have time to figure it out. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, we've talked about that in class too, the location scout, and also
Yeah.
if you can get a sense of what your subject's gonna be like for Jen, the piece we just watched, did you do a pre-interview or did like the production company, and did you know going in, I assume you did, knew the emotional angle of her father
Yeah.
going in?
Yeah, so I knew that kind of, but so what we didn't know is that she was actually like 8 weeks pregnant. And so that's why she was so weepy. And she was like, she like actually couldn't control it. Which was fine. Like, but it did definitely make like it for like a harder interview. But yeah, I did a pre-interview with her, like a quick one. And that's always good. I like, because I don't like showing up to set and like meeting my subject for the first time. It's just like, so it's like, oh, hey, this is me. I'm a totally new person. Now tell me your entire life story and all of your vulnerabilities. Like, that's just like never gonna work. So yeah, I always do like pre-interview Zoom calls if I can, so we can meet face to face. And then we didn't location scout her house. We just like got pictures ahead of time. And I had like a bigger team on that one. I had an assistant for me, and then I had a lighting guy and a sound guy and a producer. And so we had like a solid team. So we were able to bring in some nice like lighting gear to make that interview look pretty. But she also just had a very aesthetically pleasing house. So that helps.
And did you edit that piece?
No, I did not. The production, I recommended an editor that I thought would do a good job, and they hired him.
Is it hard to hand off the work that you've worked on so much to an editor and then see the final product?
No, because I hate editing now. Like I can't, I hate it. No, I love handing my stuff off because I honestly think a lot of times, I mean, to a good editor, like if it's also like finding the people that you like to work with that you have like chemistry with both like socially and artistically, because like I have worked with editors where I'm glad I wasn't editing it myself, but like it was kind of pulling teeth, like getting what I wanted to come across, because we just had different styles. And so I found like a short list of like 5 people that I like really love what they do. So once you find the people you trust, it's really not hard. And it's also like kind of, I think it helps because I used to do, and I still do sometimes, stuff like end to end all by myself. And there's so much value in like other people's perspectives on something. And there are times when, like, or all the time where I get edits back and I'm like, oh my God, I never would have thought of that, but it works so well. So yeah, not hard at all.
When we're starting out, a lot of people are newer to video and especially editing video. Talk about the importance of, shooting enough B-roll on your shoots. And I know you don't like editing now, but any sort of editing tips, specifically what you remember from starting out?
Yeah. I mean, for shooting enough B-roll, I still battle that because a lot of times, especially with these like high profile athletes, you don't get very much time with them. And so with that, it's like, I kind of do, I don't like list out all my shots in like a very prescribed like shot list form that a lot of people on like more stiff like commercial productions would do, but I do go in with a plan. Like if I'm gonna shoot with a soccer player, I know I want to do like I'll pull inspiration. I'll like have like a spreadsheet or at least like a mood board with like all the inspiration like side by side that I can like refer to on set, because a lot of times like so much is going on that you just like forget to like shoot certain things, and then you'll get back and you'll be like, crap, like I forgot to shoot like this angle of her scoring a goal, whatever. So definitely like pre-planning is important, but also not being like too rigid, because when you're shooting documentaries, like anything can happen. So you don't want to be like so bogged down in your like your shot list that you miss something great that could happen. And I would say like if like it happens like and you don't have enough B-roll and you're like really stretching stuff, ask the person for photos, ask them for like go to their Instagram and like pull screenshots of like, it's not the best, but like you can at least like, sometimes you saw in that piece, like we did some interesting like photo treatments with like some like scrolling stuff. Like you can jazz that stuff up and make it still like fun to watch. So yeah, that's the B-roll thing. I mean, in an ideal world, you have more than enough beautiful B-roll to work with, but it just doesn't always happen that way. And then with editing, early on tips, I would say logging, you just have to like log the hours doing it to like figure it out, and you can get in a flow. So I would, if you're interested in it, like I used to, before even school, I used to make like inspirational like gymnastics videos for like my team before like states in high school, and I would just like pull like clips from the Olympics and like edit it together to music. And I think like logging all those hours just helps you develop like those instincts in an editing software. And other than that, it's just like organization, I think, is a big one for like early on. I'm still very disorganized when I edit, but I tried not to be. And all the best editors are like very organized with all their folders, and like they label everything and it all looks really pretty, and it just speeds up the process and makes you more efficient. So yeah, that's all I got. I'm not an editor though.
Before we watch another video, anybody online have any questions? Anyone else here?
You're about to watch something I actually edited, which is ironic.
Yeah. Meredith has a question.
Yeah.
Well, I did just want to say that McKenna's here. She's a photographer for UNH and also my roommate.
Hi. I've been following your stuff for so long, and Scott,
Wait, no way.
Scott and Jeremy are my bosses here.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yep. They were like, "Do you know her?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "Should I?" And they were
Oh,
like,
that's so sick.
"So, yeah."
Nice.
What was you guys say?
Did you have a question, or we just want to say hi?
I did have a question, but it was about editing. So
You can ask it. No, ask it. I just like recently decided I don't edit anymore.
Okay.
But up until now, I have been editing.
So how did you, like, for the stuff you don't know, like you kind of almost like don't know what you don't know, how did you teach yourself like certain skills, like right now, like
Yeah.
I don't know, like kind of like adding the crowd cheering sounds and like making the music like more and less, all
Yeah.
that sort of stuff.
There's a YouTube tutorial for literally everything. I would that for sure. When I was like really like learning like the early, because once you get kind of past like the big hump of like not knowing anything to like being able to at least like make a montage video, then you can kind of go to someone like Scott, or like you can like DM me and be like, hey, how do I do this? And then I can like we can help you. But I think like up until then, like YouTube is a great, Mark Bone on YouTube is a great guy. He's like a doc. I just like his style. It's not as like YouTube-y as like a lot of the other ones. But there's so many resources. Like, I think it's crazy that people pay for film school nowadays when this exists. So yeah, I'm trying to think. There's like so many good ones. I can send Scott like a list after this of like some of my favorites, because I still YouTube stuff like all the time. Like
Sorry, my cat's meowing in the background.
Yeah, like I'm still like I still use it as a resource. So yeah.
Did you want to show one that you had edited?
Well, do you want to show?
Yeah, which one do you want to show next?
PLA?
Yeah, sure.
I'll give a little intro to this one because it's like a completely different style. So what you're about to see is the stadium intro video, which is like the video that they play at like, you probably know like sports teams and stuff. They always have like an intro video for UCLA gymnastics. When I moved out here, I got connected with their old videographer, and she happened to be leaving. And so kind of like passed the torch off to me. And so this is my second year working with them on this video. And we went for like a super, and I usually don't do this. We went for like a super scripted, like kind of like music video, like musical kind of vibe for this. So this is very outside of my comfort zone, but just goes to show like, push yourself into like a creative idea, like no idea is like crazy, and it might turn out really fun. And will I do more scripted stuff? Probably not, but I would do anything for gymnastics. So I think it turned out pretty cute.
Finish this sentence.
Skiing is. You're playing the trail.
Ski.
Ah.
But you can't forget from sundown to sunset. Nah. It's all in the air, you hear it everywhere. No matter what you do, it's gonna grab a hold on you. Grab a hold on you. Grab a hold on you. California, so you.
The stage is set from Los Angeles. We're in Pauley Pavilion.
Like a sound you hear that lingers in your ear, but you can't forget from sundown to sunset. Nah. It's all in the air, you hear it everywhere. No matter what you do, it's gonna grab a hold on you. California soul. California soul.
The Bruins having an incredible day.
Love it. That was a great routine.
And it's a 10. What a thrill for the Bruins.
So what was so did they come to you with an idea? Or they just gave you free reign?
They said, Anna, we want to show that we're close to the beach. Can we use the beach this year? And then I was like, say less. And then we came up with that. Yeah, they basically like, because of NIL, like how like college athletes get paid now, they're having trouble like getting recruiting has just turned into like this crazy thing. So basically like we wanted to flip the formula and show like how cool it is to go to school in LA. So it's like not only is this like something to hype up the crowd before the meets, but like naturally this video is going to be used as a recruiting tool. So yeah, they wanted to use the beach, and then I just like I don't know. I think I drank like way too much coffee that morning, and we came up with like the craziest idea ever, but we made it happen.
Did you get input from the athletes then?
Not really. Like I basically tried because I know them pretty well. All the like little scenes, like little like acting scenes we did, like I tried to like tailor them to their personality. So like the surfer girls, like they actually do surf, and like the girl studying, she's like the smartest one on the team. So it all kind of like matched up. And they kind of like they definitely like provided input, like, oh, like we should do like they're so creative, like they come with ideas, like the one where they're like staring at the wall and then the girl like runs the other way and then she like pulls her this way, like that was their idea and it was like so genius. So yeah, it was mostly though like me working with their choreographer and assistant coach, and then one of the student intern videographer as well. She was like helping out a lot. So yeah, it was a small team. Like that like is something that like I think people watch that and think it might have been like a really big production, but it was literally just like 4 of us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so I thought the editing of that was awesome.
thanks.
And I was curious how you did, like, A, what editing platform you used for that, and B, how you did it where it was like 2 clips at once, kind of like faded into each other.
Oh yeah. So I use Premiere Pro, and then the like the where it was like the girl doing gymnastics over here, but then like something else over here. Yeah. That I got that idea actually from La La Land, like the movie. We were trying to figure out how, because like they always want to incorporate like competition footage, but since we were shooting all of this like kind of more elevated like narrative style like scenes, I was like, how can I like blend the worlds in a way that like makes sense and isn't just kind of like a jarring difference? And so I was like thinking about split screens and all sorts of different stuff. And yeah, I saw this like La La Land scene while I was pulling references for another part of the video, and it was that. So I basically like it was a lot easier than I thought it was gonna be. I basically just like layered the clips like in the timeline. You layer them on top of each other, and then you can like make like it's called a mask, and then you just kind of play with it and feather it out. But it's actually not that hard. It was just time consuming. But yeah, if you ever want to do it, I can give you like a full tutorial, but I won't like.
Yes, please, that sounds awesome. That's something I would love to try. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Anna, I wanted to ask how you got the zoom, like the pan in on the girls doing the choreographed dance in the street. We're told not to like do any sort of like zooming or tilting since we're just starting out, but I think that really added. How did you do that, and like what equipment did you use?
Like when like on the palm tree street.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just like I was on a gimbal, which is like a stabilizer for the camera, and I was just like walking in and out with my feet.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Cool.
yeah. Zoom with your feet is like a common. Why do people say that? Rip, do you know?
I've said
Or it's like
no,
zoom with your feet. I'm like, okay.
What Sarah's talking about, because when we were messing around, we were doing intro like B-roll shoots.
Yeah.
I just don't want people to zoom in with the
And then, like,
lens.
so like Wayne's World, like
Yeah, no, but you're saying when you're using a gimbal, you're moving in physically with the camera. And that's what I try to talk about. Like if I'm shooting a scene, don't just shoot from one location, shoot like a wide shot, then physically move closer, get a tight shot. So yeah, I think
There's definitely like reasons to use Zoom, but like there's nowadays like there's like a trend, again, trends. This one I actually like, but it's like a vintage, like those like crash Zooms where like it's like from like old school film, and I can kind of add like a Wes Anderson like silly kind of tone to it. But yeah, I would say like mostly you want to be like going in on your subject versus like just zooming, because it just like creates more intimacy. And if the camera is always like a POV, like you want to be up close and personal. You don't want to feel like you're like creeping from far away.
Yeah, no, I think it added to that. I hope we get to the level where we could, or I could use a stabilizer, but sounds
They have
good.
them for your phone as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Okay.
sell them.
Maybe I'll try it out.
And Sarah, we do have them for class. We have little ones.
Oh, awesome. Okay. I'm glad I asked this question.
Damn.
Next level, next level.
All right.
Know what I'll be using.
Did anybody else have a question? I did want to talk about passion projects, Anna, because I know that's a big part of what you do too, not just videos you get paid for.
Yeah, that's a good segue into the next one, because
Yeah.
that one's a project. Do you want to show it first, or do you want me to talk about it first?
Yeah, we did watch this in class, but I'll show it. Can you just give a little bit of about the surfing one, right?
Yeah,
Or you do a lot of surfing ones. The
yeah, the green
woman
one.
from Rye, yes, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I kind of have like two sides of my work. Ideally, you get paid for all of it, but that is not always the case. So I have all my client stuff, which you've seen so far, and then every once in a while I stumble upon a person or a story that really gets me stoked and I feel like needs to be in the world. And I'll kind of take that on as a personal project. And I have the ability to, like, because I own my gear and know how to edit, it's like I could make this happen without any funding, but you always try to at least like throw a pitch deck together and try to pitch it to some brands. So this film that you're about to see is about to start its film festival run. It's about a professional surfer she's from Rye, now she lives out in California. And I actually met her through some friends at UNH, and she was on the Billabong team, like very good pro surfer. And she hit her head on the bottom of a concrete wave pool and got a really, really, really gnarly traumatic brain injury. So we followed her, me and my friend Jordan, teamed up to kind of take this on as a passion project. And we funded it like a little bit through some brands, but like we didn't get like any crazy like Yeti sponsorships, for example. And yeah, it's done, and it's gonna start going to film festivals and then hopefully get acquired by like a distributor. So you're gonna see the trailer.
A few weeks ago, I suffered another head injury. This time was definitely different. I had everything taken away from me.
What we're doing today is something called an EEG.
Still struggling. Now when I realized that I had been living with consistent, unhealed head injuries, I was actually really struggling.
What is the driver that's leading you to want to get back on the board so much?
I'm suiting up.
Oh my God.
If you're not doing what you love, then you're not really living.
Cool. So how long did you shoot that for?
2 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what, is it, when you're working on a passion project like that, is it, you didn't really know how it was gonna end up, right? You're just following along. You just, at what point in the story did you join it?
Like before, so she hit her head in like June of 2021. And so like 6 months after she hit her head. So she was still very much like not okay. Hadn't surfed yet, like didn't even know she was going to surf again, like all of that stuff. And yeah, that was like the first time I really felt like a documentary filmmaker, because a lot of the stuff I do is like, it's documentary, but it's like, here's this cool person doing this cool thing, and like it's very guaranteed. And like this was the first time where, yeah, we really joined her and we're like, she could never surf again. We don't know how this story is going to turn out. We know it's going to be powerful and amazing, because just like her as a person was powerful and amazing. But yeah, we had no idea. And like even like we filmed her first time surfing back in the water, and like that night before she was like, I'm not going, like I can't go. And like we filmed that. It's just like, it was crazy. Like it was honestly like the first time I'd ever felt like I was really doing like what I truly do want to be doing, which is like following people. And it's just like it's definitely like an adrenaline thing, or like it's just so interesting, like watching life play out. But sadly there's just like not a lot of money in that. So I still love like all other stuff I get to do, but this was like, yeah, like this is it. Like this is what I want to do. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you get like some of that raw image of like her crying in the bathroom and her going through like physical therapy and stuff like that?
Yeah, so luckily she's like a influencer, like she would be so mad at me if I said that. She's like she does social media, so she's really good at like self-capture. So we had her, like she kind of already did a little bit of it, but we like really drilled it into her from the beginning. We were like, we basically set a schedule where we essentially tried to film with her once a month, if not more, but at least once a month, so that we could like track her progress. But in between we were like, if something crazy happens, like you have to film it. Like and she luckily as a subject was super into the process and really wanted people to see her story as it really happened. So she was very like, there was like one time where we were with her and she was definitely like over it and didn't want us to film her. But then later she was like, oh, I wish you would like kept filming, because like I was having like a really hard moment and like that would have been good. So ever since then we were like, we don't like, she gave us full permission. She was like, we had a safe word where like she could basically be like, fuck off if she wanted us to. But other than that, it was like very like from the beginning, like this is, we're getting it all and we're not going to shy away from anything. And like the stuff at PT, like we went with her to a brain camp at like this doctor's office in Utah, and they let us film. And yeah, most like all of the like nice camera footage you see is we were really there and we got to film it. But we also had her self-capturing like stuff on her phone. So yeah, we always said thank you for filming yourself crying. We appreciate it. It really adds a lot to the film.
Any other questions about documentary filmmaking? I thought you said too about one of your other films, the To Be Frank, like finding funding after. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I did last year, I did like a shorter, the Becca one is a short, but it's like 30 minutes. And then this other one was like a 10-minute piece just on this surfer guy I surf with. He's like old and has he's just like an old surf grandpa and he's awesome. So we did like a little piece about him, and that one was like so fun and easy because it was local that I really didn't stress about finding funding. I was kind of very like loose with it, and I ended up cutting a scene where he happened to be drinking a PBR, like the beer. And my friend just like suggested I send it to them. And so I like reached out to this guy on LinkedIn who's like a marketing guy at PBR. And I was like, hey, like I'm making this thing. Here's my like track record so that, you know, I'm like legit and like this is where it's gonna go. Like I basically sent him a pitch deck, but the big hits you hit are like, here's what it is, here's who I am, here's what I need from you, and here's what you get in return. So I sent that to this guy and he was like, he's exactly what you'd expect of like a marketing guy at a beer company. He was like very like fratty and like he was like, yeah, this looks sick. Like, what do you need? And I was like, $5,000. And he was like, done. So that was like the easiest sponsorship I've ever acquired for sure. Most of these, like for the Becca stuff, it was like tons of calls with like big companies and then getting ghosted and like not fun at all. But yeah, sometimes you get lucky. And yeah, we had like, now we say that Frank is a sponsored surfer with PBR. They sent him like a robe, like a bathrobe that had like tabs. It was so sick. Like, yeah, I highly recommend watching that film on your own time, because it's just like a sunny, like fun vibe. It'll make you happy. He's so great.
We got about 8 minutes left. Does anybody else have any big questions? I had a couple other things I wanted you to touch on, but could you talk a bit about, I like what you said, we watched the Yeti piece about the woman who's a lobster person in Maine, and then kind of what you found out about the crew for that and the importance of having representation of who you're doing stories on in your crew.
Yeah. So, I mean, this world, cinematography specific, like holding the camera, is very male dominated. And like I love the men I get to work with. I have not had a bad experience, but we need more women in this field. And a lot of times, like especially we need women telling women's stories. We need trans people telling trans stories. Like there's so much that you gain from having representation behind the camera in the terms of like the depth you're able to get to with your stories. So for example, I'm from Maine. So I was like so stoked to see this, like, I'm like, oh my God, a Maine story with Yeti, like it's gonna be so beautiful. And I found out my friend who was like I like asked him for advice, like one of my like networking friends was the one who shot it. He's also the guy who shot Free Solo. Fabulous cinematographer, like lovely human. And I was like texting, I was like, this is so sick. Like, how'd you guys, what was your boat filming setup or whatever? And he sends me like these like BTS pictures. And I noticed, I was like, there's not a single woman on that boat. Like it was like 8 men, like not like nobody. And I was like, huh, that's kind of weird. And I kind of just was like, oh, that's annoying, but whatever, like wrote it off. And then like when it came out, I watched it and like the whole film is about like how she's like this female lobster woman, like she's breaking barriers like for women in the male dominated industry, like all this stuff. I looked at the credits list, like maybe there's like one female producer, but like no women behind the camera. And it's just frustrating to see because brands will go and try to capitalize on, for example, tomorrow, timely, is International Women's Day. I've had a lot of brands reach out to me and have me come and shoot for them for like their International Women's Day video, their International Women's Day collection. We want an all-female crew for this, but like then they never follow, like then they just go right back to hiring the same dudes over and over again. So a big part of like this industry as a woman is bringing other women in and up with you and trying to get us in like more positions of leadership. Because it's not to say like we don't want like any men shooting anything anymore. It's just like if you're going to go and tell a story about somebody who's doing some, like you need to have that relatability aspect. And yeah, like people deserve to be able to tell their own stories. And so in like an applicable scenario, say you're a white dude, which is totally fine, and you find this awesome person, they're trans and like going to do some crazy, they're going to run across the country. That doesn't mean you can't do that story, but how are you going to go and bring someone who relates to them like into your crew and be able to like have that layer of authenticity. So yeah, it's just something I think is really important and it's not talked about enough. So yeah, it's not hard either. Like these people exist and it's just about like putting in the effort to find them. That's really, it's a really key piece of storytelling. And I think it shows through in your stuff. Like when you have representation behind the camera, like I think you can tell with how open the person is on screen and just like the general whole feel of a piece.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Feel.
Any other, we have a few minutes left. We have some people that are going to be graduating soon. Any big like tips? I like what you said before about marketing yourself. You started to use LinkedIn more. Any other tips you can give to people getting into storytelling and journalism related jobs?
Yeah, I would just like start now. I mean, it's kind of probably like a weird job market right now because there's like a lot of just like shift happening in the industry and there's a lot of layoffs, but that also means there's a lot of like new, so it's just gonna be like keep paying attention and yeah, getting on LinkedIn and starting to like share whatever it is you do, whether you write or you take photos, whatever, like sharing that stuff. And then a huge piece is like networking. That's like reaching out to people that whether you want to do what they do, and asking for like a phone call where you can ask them advice, or if they're in person, going and like buying them a coffee. It goes a long way. And like also like don't be afraid if those people like don't respond to you like on the first message, like you can pester them like at least one more time. Yeah, I think, and like also like I do obviously all this video stuff, but I know a ton of like graphic designers and copywriters and like I work in marketing essentially. So I do have like a lot of contacts at like brands and publications and stuff just like through living out here and stuff. So if you guys ever want like an intro with someone, I'm happy to help.
That's an excellent transition to how can people reach out to you and follow your work?
Instagram's the best for like following my work, and honestly like reaching out there is solid. Or you can email me, but my Instagram is Anna Burns with a Y, Anna Burnsy. And then he can give you my email, annawburns@gmail.com if you want to write it down.
All right, I'll send it out. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys.